Guys, welcome to the Vlad Catcher Show, the #1 show for founders, execs, and entrepreneurs who are scaling their businesses. This video is presented by Firecrawl, and we have an amazing interview for you today with its founder and CEO, Caleb Peffer, about how he created and scaled this business. Caleb, welcome to the show.
Howdy, everyone. Excited to chat.
So tell us, Caleb, what's the origin story? How did Firecrawl come about?
Many years of hard work and dedication. I know it's a cliche answer, but that is the truth. Concretely, though, in 2023, we were building something called Mendable. Mendable was an AI documentation search, site search tool. We were inspired by ChatGPT immediately when it came out. We just knew that large language models were going to be the next paradigm shift in technology, so we wanted to build in the space. We sold Mendable to customers like Snapchat, DoorDash, MongoDB, and it was a very successful business, the type of business that most people would be extremely happy to build. But we had a hunch that the data layer, so actually taking the web and turning it into a data format that LLMs use really easily, was a much bigger opportunity. Over a weekend, actually, we packaged the web crawling, scraping, and formatting infrastructure we had built for Mendable into an open source repo. And we launched it just to see what happened. And almost instantly, we got traction that really, it was clear to us that there was something here that we needed to follow. And since then, we've crossed 60,000 stars on GitHub. We're growing very quickly from a revenue perspective. We just raised our Series A from Nexus Venture Partners. And yeah, the sky is the limit.
Yeah. And can you tell us more about the product, Caleb? How does the product work, and what are some specific use cases for businesses?
Absolutely. We make the web LLM ready. But what does that actually mean? It means we do web search, web scraping, and essentially take the internet, which is really, really meant for humans to browse with a web browser, and provide it in a format that AIs really like to use, an API that gives them well-formatted LLM-ready data.
So this is a solution that's ideal for anyone building AI, or I'm trying to classify like, right? Firecrawl is the perfect product for which type of business?
If you are a developer that's building an AI agent to do something meaningful in the world, you're building deep research, creating AI business analyst who's going out in the web and trying to find information and use that to make decisions or generate content, anything like that, then Firecrawl is a tool for you.
I got it. So pretty much for anyone building AI agents, right?
Bingo. AI agents that need to access the web, which is an enormous amount of them.
Yeah. And who's the ideal like ICP? Is there a person who usually buys your product and pushes it in the organization? Like who's the actual guy or person who buys this product?
Developers. Seriously, I think we've always built and sold products for developers. Me and my co-founders met studying computer science in college. We've built 6 products now. And every one of them was always built around the thesis of how do we make it so developers can do what they want to do without having to deal with bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what Firecrawl does and what we intend to keep doing.
And I saw that you guys did YC. Can you briefly tell us about how you guys got in and what were some things you learned from that experience?
We were so close. Me and my co-founders met. We were in college, of course, classic story. We just loved building stuff. Wanted to create a company together. Didn't really know what. Tried a whole bunch of things. And as I approached graduation, we had no intention of going and getting real jobs. This is what we wanted to do. We had built a product at the time. Like I said, we were selling to developers. We built a coding course platform inside VS Code, a code editor. And it was making money, but it wasn't making nearly enough to support me, my co-founder, the CTO, Nicholas, and Eric, our co-founder and the CMO. And we had this moment where basically, we're like, we have a few months left. What do we do? We went to school in New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, there's no fundraising ecosystem. There seemed to be no options. There were a few angel investors that we talked to that clearly weren't going to give us a great valuation.
Yeah.
We had our backs against the wall, and we just decided to apply. Why not, right? And I remember when I saw the interview, I was like, oh my God, we have a shot here. And then when we actually did the interview, and I don't know if you know anything about Y Combinator interviews or anyone does. It's 10 minutes. You go in, you pitch your startup. They ask you a bunch of really hard questions, and then that's it. And I thought we had bombed the interview, actually. I was like, there's no way that we're going to get in. And our partner gave us a call, said we were in one of the best moments of my life.
What would you say surprised you in kind of, because you're an entrepreneur, you built this business, you guys have a lot of customers. What were some surprising lessons that you learned as you were building this company?
I don't know if it's surprising because everyone told me this was the way it was. I think it's really hard for first-time entrepreneurs to understand how meaningless their ideas are, how important execution is. I think the most common failure mode for entrepreneurs is they get this idea and they get emotionally attached to it, and they just put everything into this idea that they think is going to be the next big thing, and they don't listen to the signals. We've always found that being just that much more unemotional, like being willing to your ideas, even if they work a little bit, because it's not good enough to work a little bit. You want it to work. You want it to be exceptional, right? You want to pick the single idea that's going to be the next Google, and you can't do that by I don't know, coming up with something and then just sticking with it. You have to iterate. You have to try different stuff.
What's the key to knowing that the entrepreneurs are on the right track, Caleb? Is it just traction in terms of sales or usage? What's the key to knowing that they're building the right thing?
It can't just be traction. It's really easy to get traction. Every one of the 6 products that we've built has done an order of magnitude better than the last in terms of revenue. They all had customers that loved the product. I don't have a perfect answer for you. I still haven't figured it out. I think the key is both deep conviction that what you're doing is meaningful, that matters, that is going to be bigger than just a small business, unless you want to build a small business. But if you want to build a big business like we do, you need to have that conviction. And then you also need some sort of validation. If it's something that you can sell to customers immediately, then it needs to be customer validation. If it's a new technology, then you have to see that technology working, see some indication that it's going to get better. So yeah, you need those 2 things. And I think entrepreneurs sometimes tend to one side, tend to the other side. Some they just have conviction and nothing else, and they stick with it until they waste years of their life. Sometimes entrepreneurs just are only looking for dollar signs, and they don't actually find that deep conviction. But I really think you need both.
What do you think we should focus on in terms of validation? So let's say you're basically saying you have to be sure you're on the right track, right, as an entrepreneur. And 2, you're saying you need the validation, but is sales or is it customer usage? What should we look for in terms of that validation?
I mean, it depends on what type of business you're building. If you're building a consumer business, you need a lot of people converting and you need good retention. I think if you're building a business to business product, revenue is a decent thing to go after, but really it's on a case-by-case basis. If you're building something like OpenAI, you're going to spend 5-6 years doing research before you get there. So what you need to know is the research working, right? Is the magic technology that you're trying to bring into the world real, or is it a pipe dream?
How about hiring, Caleb? Hiring is always so challenging, and there's so many different lessons we all learn. What would you say are some of your biggest hiring lessons?
Every time I've hired someone that was okay, like was mostly there, but I didn't have a gut feeling that they were the right person for our company, they haven't worked out. And it's very hard to have that standard because there's when you have a business, when you have product market fit and things are growing, everything is on fire, no pun intended. The last thing that you want to do is say no to the person that could take that work off your plate, but you just have to. You just have to, even if it sucks.
And why is that the case, Caleb? Basically, I think what you're saying is if you have a team member and that person, let's say, delivers on a level of a 6 or a 7 out of 10, you're saying that person will probably not work out. Why is that the case? Right? Because the person's still taking some role, right? The person's still doing part of that role, but not crushing it for you. But why is that the case?
In the very early stages of growth, every new hire is a very big part of your company, proportional to the size of your company. When you only have 2 or 3 co-founders, that's me. I'm 1/3 of the Firecrawl co-founding team. And what that means is that number one, for you to be effective, you need a high level of talent density, and every hire matters a lot. And then secondly, once you scale outward past, let's say 15 to 30, once you go past the point where you can have everyone in the same room together, all of a sudden you don't have control. You are no longer able to sit in every conversation. And because of that, the people that you hire are the ones that you have to pass the torch to. They're the ones that set the culture. They're the ones that decide to hire next. And so if you get that initial cohort wrong, the tree, right, that's going to grow out is rotten to the core. And so it's crucial to get that right. It's crucial.
Is there an interview question that you like to ask candidates? For example, Peter Thiel has that question he asks, tell me something that you believe is true that most people would disagree with you on. Is there something like this that you like to ask candidates?
Depends on the role. I'll give you one for engineering. I think the most important question to ask an engineer, this might be controversial, is how early they started programming. And the reason is that every 10x engineer that I've ever worked with started programming before the age of 12. And when you ask people like this about how they started programming, they're going to tell you some version of I was extremely curious and I just wanted to do this thing. And so I did it. And if you're, if you're a 10-year-old and you figured out how to build a Minecraft mod or something, that's pretty impressive. And usually they just have more reps. They've been doing it for longer. It's the exact same thing with professional musicians, right? Most professional musicians at the very top of their game started when they were extremely young. So that's one of my favorite ones. But it does depend on the role. And I think, it does depend on the role.
That's interesting. You're saying you're looking for developers, these type of 10x engineers who started coding really early. That's kind of the thing that works well for you.
Yeah, we work with the best of the best, and that's that.
What parts of the business at Firecrawl have you still not been able to delegate out, right? That you still own kind of personally, or you're still involved with a lot aside for hiring?
Product. We haven't figured out how to delegate this. We're getting better. I don't think there's anything wrong with delegating product. By the way, this is the way I think about delegation in general. There's a lot of startup advice out there that's like, you should delegate this, you shouldn't delegate this. I think this is kind of BS. I think what you should ask yourself is, as a founder, what are my superpowers? And you should lean into those superpowers. And sometimes those are your own personal superpowers, right? It could be that you have a really good eye for product. It could be that you are an incredible speaker. It could also be that you, as the founder, are the only one with the moral authority to do things. You are the only one who can walk into a room and say, this is the way things are, and no one else can really question me because I am the founder. I built this company. And so as a founder, you should always be working on the problems that, that those superpowers require to be solved. For me, for product, I love product. It's something I'm deeply passionate about. I've always been curious. This is the reason I do what I do. And it's also something that sort of guides the entire company, right? Firecrawl is a company that's built to build a product. So it's why I spend my time on it.
It's very difficult to delegate product, dude. It's just very difficult always to delegate product because that's the core of everything you sell, right?
Yes.
So
You need really good taste. I think Linear is a great example that they got this right. But I would love to find someone that has the level of taste for this at Firecrawl. We'll hopefully sometime soon.
And what would you say are your lessons in terms of building great tech products? Like, what is specifically about product? Like, what's the key to building great tech products?
Listen to customers, dude. Like, just listen. And it's so cliche, I know, but I think it's so whenever we've made a decision, whenever I've led us in a direction or we've tried to build something that just didn't clearly tie to a customer pain point, it's always failed.
Listen to customers. How do you do this though, Caleb? Do you talk to them? Do you email them? Or like, how do we actually, what should we do to listen to customers?
Everything. Just talk to them, right? It's not difficult. Like, you can just take your customer, if you have users, right? You can just copy those emails and send them an email, be like, hey, I want to talk to you. If you don't have any users yet, figure out where those people are and go put yourself there, whatever it takes. If you're selling to retirement homes, go to retirement homes. This is an example. But there is no, I would also say that if you're in a position, if you're trying to build a product and you can't find a way to talk to your customers, you're probably building the wrong product, because founder market fit matters too. And you should try and build a product in a space that you understand with people that you care about, or ideally something that you yourself care about. So yeah, I think it will become clear if you're building the right product.
Caleb, that's pretty cool, man. This is a new one, the founder market fit. You mentioned not product market fit, founder market fit, whether the founder is the right founder for that specific project.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
It's really important. It's really important. One of the secrets behind Firecrawl's success is founder market fit. We, for Mendable, this is an AI site search tool. We started selling to developers, but then eventually we started selling to sales teams, go-to-market teams. And we got to this point where we could learn how to speak to sales. We could learn how to speak to sales, but why would we when we're so good at marketing to developers? So part of the beauty of the shift to Firecrawl is that not only were we building something that we had that deep conviction with, that I talked about before, and we were building something that had some validation, because we talked to people before we released it and thought they were interested. We were also building something that we were uniquely positioned and that played to our superpowers. So yeah, founder market fit, it's important.
And what advice would you share with other tech entrepreneurs, Caleb?
It's hard. Starting companies is really hard. And look, I've never had a real job. This is all I've ever done. So sometimes it's easy to go, wow, this is so hard. Am I doing things right? And I always remind myself that it's supposed to be hard. That's the deal that you make. And that's what makes it so rewarding. I think just keeping that in mind is so important, because if you don't, it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to be like, oh my God, why am I doing this? Why would I put myself through this torture chamber? But yeah, I think if you keep it with the mindset of that being the way it's supposed to be, and also looking at the roar at the end of the day, it's just a much better way to think of things.
I agree, Caleb. I think that's very well put, which is it's supposed to be hard. That's even helpful for me hearing this right now, right? Because it's supposed to be hard. And why is it supposed to be hard, Caleb? Is it supposed to be hard because, otherwise everyone would be doing it if it was easy? Why is it supposed to be hard? Why is that always the case? It's the case, but why is it always the case?
You're changing history. You are struggling against the status quo and natural way the future is going to unfold, and building something that's yours, it's your own. And I think that's just takes energy and effort and struggle, and a price has to be paid.
Man, that's a quote, dude. That price has to be paid. Oh, dude, man, that's cool. Caleb, what's the best business advice you've ever received?
Make something people want. It's YC's slogan. If you're on tech Twitter, you've heard it a million times, and I'm just gonna shill it one more time because I think it is so true, and I think it is still the thing that people get wrong. It's still the thing that most entrepreneurs get wrong. Just figure out what somebody wants and build it. That's it.
Caleb, I have one more question about product. Because you mentioned, you listen to customers. You really listen to customers. But how do you determine what features to build? Like, are you usually seeking, because customers frequently won't tell us which features to build, right? They might not even tell us the pain point properly, right? They might not even communicate the actual pain point. So when you're building features for Firecrawl, how do you choose which features to build?
We're getting better every day. This is something where we are fairly data-driven, and I think we do a very good job at this. Every single time we have a customer conversation, whether it's through sales, customer support, someone just sending us a message on Discord, whatever it may be, we log that information and we track it. We connect the feature request with the amount of customers that have asked for it. And when we make feature decisions, we're basically just going, how likely, how many times has this been asked for, and how much revenue is this gonna generate for us? How much is this going to align with our vision or how the company is going? And similar to how I think you can decide what product to work on, what company to work on, you can think of this in terms of features as well. Do I have conviction that this thing is going to lead me towards that end vision that I want to bring into the world? And are there enough customers that have asked for it to be worthwhile? That being said, a feature is smaller, so like I said, it's easier to reverse. So sometimes you can just try something, build it, and later take it out of the product if you want. But yeah, customer requests and your own intuition, your own vision.
Caleb, and you also mentioned several times, in the interview that we as entrepreneurs, as tech entrepreneurs, should focus on our strengths, right? It's like a big part to focus on our strength. But I think many times we're not even sure exactly of our strengths, right? Like we're not even aware of many things that we are great at. What advice would you share? How do we do this part basically, Caleb? Because we might not be sure, like, is it just introspection? Should we just kind of specifically sit and focus on this? So how do we identify this in the best way?
I don't think it's introspection. I think just like how to know what product to build, you have to validate that. You have to validate your strengths. And it may be very easy for you. You may go to 5 of your friends and say, hey, what's my superpower? And they'll all say the same thing. You're like, okay, I'm probably pretty good at that. It may be that you just look back and go, this one thing was always where I excelled. And I would always look at external validation, right? Not just internal validation. What were the things that you would do and others would find difficult that you found easy? And sometimes that takes a lot of strength and courage, right? Because you have to look at yourself in the mirror and assess yourself for who you really are, not who you want to be. But if you don't, then you're going to be playing to your weaknesses, which is much worse. And I know because I've done it before.
That's really interesting, man. You're saying the things that were easy for you, and those things could be difficult for others. That's one way to identify some of your strengths.
Sure.
I think many folks, many developers who watch this interview, I don't think they realize how challenging it is to build a business and how challenging it is to be a tech CEO, because pretty much everything goes wrong in places you never even imagined, right? Things will go wrong that you never thought will go wrong. What else advice would you share, Caleb, in terms of how do we handle things whenever so many things always go wrong from everywhere in companies? Like, what do you do to kind of stay balanced and keep pressing on during these hard times?
build your support system, and remember that it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. That, just like how when you work out and the thing that creates growth is the actual muscles breaking and tearing and falling apart. That is where the growth comes from. And so it's the price that has to be paid.
Many great quotes in this video. Many great quotes in this video, Caleb. Well, Caleb, listen, I'm so grateful you came on the show and shared the Firecrawl journey. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our viewers before we log off?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're building an AI agent and you're gathering data on the web, whether it's crawling websites, searching for information, gathering information, scraping information, all of that, you should definitely check out Firecrawl. It's going to make your life way easier. We have a free trial plan to get started. You won't regret it.
All right, Caleb. Thank you so much, man. See you.
Cheers.